And one. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of your Marketing Dude podcast. Folks, what we're going to be talking about today is how do you come up with an excuse that tells everyone that you're in real estate? Well, one of the ways you do that is you become the center of attention. And one of the ways you become the center of attention is simply by hosting events. And we talk about this quite a bit on our show. But today, what I want the focus to be on specifically is what can you do? What kind of events specifically can you create that really become more like a staple to your brand that you do consistently every other month or year or biannually, like whatever it is? What would somebody create? What kind of event can you create that'll have everyone talking about you and keeping you top of mind, but without having to actually say it? And I'm not talking about let's have a real estate event. No, let's have an event that like you jive with that you would have. This has nothing to do with real estate. This is all about how you remind people that you're in real estate. So we're going to unpack a lot of that today. And I had a cool email come through. I think it was just like last week. I was like, yeah, dude, this is like right up my fucking alley. I like this. And that's what we're going to chat about today because this is huge. Like anytime you can create excuses to tell people you're in business, I'm all about it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe that's the title of the show. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and introduce our guest. Nathan, why don't you come say hello, tell everyone who you are, and what are we talking about today?
All right, thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, hey everybody. My name's Nathan Schiess. I'm out of Salt Lake. I run a company called the Real Estate Personal Branding Company, and we specialize in doing events for agents. And so, I think maybe where to start, Mike, is like I think the most important disclaimer of this whole like episode is that before you do any event, you need to meet with someone like you, Mike, or like me, because you have to have a personal brand. You have to understand what's the foundation, essentially like who is your ICP, your ideal client profile or ideal client avatar, and who is your USP. Because a good example of a good example of a mistake a client could make. You brought up, if they just do like a first time home buyer class, like 3 trillion of those that happen every day, right? Or the other thing is like their ICP, the person they're trying to sell homes to, is a retiree looking for a vacation home, and they start a free soccer league.
Yep.
And it's like that's not for your ICP. You're not going to get the clients you want from that. And so understanding what your personal brand is first is you have to do that before you do an event. So do yourself a favor, anyone who's listening to this, step one, meet with someone like Mike or myself and get your personal brand established. And then this is something that grows from that.
Yep. So let's start with that. So we're not talking about, and the reason why it's important, just because I know where you're going to go with this, the reason why this is important is because you can't have an event that falls on deaf ears. Like people have to be like, oh, like what kind of event would a marketing dude have? You guys are on my podcast, so like if I had an event, what kind of event would I have? I remember I had a mastermind. I invited everyone out. This is right before COVID. I invited all these agents out to my office. It was like 20 people showed up. We only charged like 500, $1,000 a head, but when everybody showed up, I had to create the ambiance of the event. And I'm like, well, and we needed to lay out a bunch of snacks and all that. And I'm just dude, right? So what we did is we bought a bunch of paper bags and put a bunch of munchies in them. And it fit sort of like a dude ambiance because they're like, here are your munchies, because that's just sort of what we were talking about. But it was just a small little piece of that event that we handed it out because we wanted it to match the ambiance of a marketing dude event. And
Right.
throughout the 2 days we had people there, everything was very duty, right?
Mhm.
Because we were going after the experience that they would remember. It would be off brand for me to have like a black tie event as a dude, right? It just would feel awkward. I'd feel awkward being there because it doesn't fit my brand. So that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. And I think the deal is, Mike, I think a lot of agents get so, I'm sure you run into this every day, but they're so caught up in like, I don't want to alienate anyone. And they're almost afraid to be themselves because they
Mm.
feel like that will mean they will miss deals. And so to your point, the idea is like, that's why you have to have a personal brand and get comfortable in understanding, okay, here's who I am. Here's my ICP. I speak to them better than anybody else does. And so to your point, like if you would have showed up in a black tie, it would have been off-putting. People would have been like, that's not really why I wanted to work with Mike. It's not
Yeah.
really the reason I wanted to come. I wanted to work with Mike because I see how Mike is, right? And so, yeah, I think you're 100% right. And you're even getting more into like the details of the event of like these little things that you can do to make it work. I think a lot of agents aren't even to that point. I think where it's at, it's like, can you just get something that your ICP would actually want to show up to?
Yep.
Meaning like, you talked about a mastermind. I think that's the biggest hurdle they run into. And maybe it's that they get caught up in the details, but I think just finding something that matches your ICP is most important.
So you guys all have a personal brand, and I think it's where people struggle. Like, I'm just a dude. I'm a dad. I'm a mom. I'm just like an agent. Like, what do you mean I have a brand? Like, folks, you're a business. Can you help them understand that and get their head around this first? Like, what the hell's a personal brand? Why do I need it?
Sure. The best way for me to walk through it is like I always walk clients through, okay, so what do you want to do? I think that's a very important thing. Some agents want to sell 100 homes. Some agents are like, I'll sell 12 and I'm good. Fine by me, whatever you choose. But we want to know that. Another big piece of, and this matters a lot with events, and this actually might be a good segue into, I can tell you kind of the story of how I got started in this.
Yeah.
But for this first piece is, what is your goal? What other businesses do you own or do you operate, or what other things do you do? So like ancillary things. And then the last piece that I always talk to agents about is like, what's your long-term wealth building situation? Like, are you investing? Do you do, the stock market? Do you like how are you making money long term? And the reason being is if you have these ancillary businesses or you have a really strong, long-term wealth generating vehicle, we want to know about it because those are good things that we can incorporate. And we may not, but we should know about them. And so I'll tell you the story now of how I got into, doing events for real estate agents. So when I was an agent years ago, I was really into investing. And so I thought I was in Salt Lake for a long time, and I went to investing events, and then I moved up to Idaho, and there weren't any good ones. And so I thought, you know what, I'll start one. And so I founded the Idaho Real Estate Investors Association, and that it changed my career for a lot of reasons. From that group that I started, it wasn't just that I got deals, which I did. I sold houses because of it. I got representation agreements, but I also got flips. I also got long-term buy and holds. It became apparent because I was in the middle of my ICP, which was at that time was real estate agent or real estate investors. I saw that there was a need for property management and a good company that could do construction that could renovate units quickly. And so I ended up starting this event that became an institution, right? So that's another thing I think it's very important. If you can build something that becomes an institution, not only do you get like the benefit of like buying and selling houses, but you also increase your status in the community. That people, it's like, oh yeah, I'm the president of this, right?
Yeah.
So that there's something to be said about that by itself, which I'll come back to. But so I started this and it got me management contracts, it got me construction contracts, it got me houses to buy and sell, it got me personally properties that I was able to invest in. And so all of that, and then through some other life circumstances, at the end of it, I ended up selling the institution and made money on that on the back end too. And so that's where I learned the value of this. And I think the other thing, this is kind of like you have to you have to be honest with yourself. And I struggle to like bring up conversations like to be salesy. I struggle to be salesy. I don't love it. I don't love being like, hey, you should buy and sell with me. It feels very unnatural and inauthentic to me. So what this did is it gave me an excuse. I didn't feel great about being like, hey, do you have a real estate agent? Do you want to work with me? I'd love to
Right.
work with you. I just would say, hey, you should come to the Idaho RIA. It's awesome. Like we learn about real estate investing and like it's been awesome for me. Like I'd love to have you come. Like it's on Wednesday. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, sure. And so it became like a shortcut for me where I felt comfortable, promoting myself because it was indirect. And that's not great like that's not a great thing if you're an agent, but guess what? You
Yeah.
got to work with what you have.
Yeah. No, that's, dude, it's an excuse to tell people about what you do, right? I had my first client event was I used to rent out nightclubs because I used to party a lot back then.
Yeah.
But secondarily, the kitchens were closed, so they're the cheapest thing to rent. So I would rent them out from like 5 until 7 p.m. or 7 until 9 before they start opening. And um, those events were the event first off was a marketing event. So I would have direct mail invites, email invites, social media invites.
Mhm.
Right. That was before the event. Then after the event, I had the photos, the videos, the pictures, and then the emails that go to all the people that attended the event. And then
Mhm.
during the event, I had a sign-in sheet where I would just build my SOI, build my database of people that I would invite to the next event and keep marketing in forever. Right. So I
Bingo.
can't tell you how much business we had there. But at the end of the day, what we're getting at, guys, is that the event is just a place to have conversations, and it's the excuse to put yourself at the center without having to be like, you want to buy or sell? Like just like Nathan said. But let's get into the personal brand of the event because just having, hey, let's just have an event to have an event,
Right.
like it's got to match your persona. It's got to
Right.
match your brand because if it doesn't, you're not excited about it. Therefore, you won't do it, but no one's going to remember it or feel connected to it, will they?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And so and it's a great tie-in, Mike, to what you're saying about the personal brand thing, because that's why we need to understand kind of who you are and what you do. I think a really good way to cover this like segment of what we're talking about, I'll give you some examples of what my clients have done,
Yep.
and so that agents kind of can get an idea of what it was. So one of the most, I guess one of the events that got the most leads. Like he consistently gets the most leads. I have a client who does a free soccer league. So he has two kids
It's great.
and they're 4 and 6, I think. And so he does a youth soccer league and everything is run and sponsored solely by him and like his brokerage. But it's on the jerseys. And this is a really interesting one because he caps it at 60 kids. So it's 60 families that get to come in. And then he doesn't do a competitive league because it's really young kids. So the niche that he fills is like, hey, come in, we'll do some drills and then we'll just scrimmage. And so he gets to stay the center of everything. He's talking to the parents before and after. He's there, he's in the middle. And it becomes a interestingly too, there's some like competition to get into the league because it's free and there's a cap. There's 60 people there. So then he gets kind of that exclusivity piece of like, oh yeah, well we joined, it's called Liftoff League. We joined the Liftoff League, and so we don't have to pay anything, which in the town he's in, like being thrifty is something his ICP values. So again, back to that. And he helps move up buyers is who he's helping. So check and check, right? Both of those things. And then it's everything you said, Mike, with the reminders and the follow-up and the newsletter and the social. And then the other thing that I think agents don't think about enough is that like when you do these events, also it's a great place to get referrals, or no, it is a great place to get referrals, to get Google reviews. I mean, because you have this thing and it's like, hey, another example of a client I have is a gal, she does a homesteading class where people can come and she teaches them about homesteading and they leave. And what a great place to be like, hey, if this was helpful, if you leave me a Google review, that would help me a ton. And they get on here and say, on her Google, and we send a link, right? And they say, oh my gosh, Sarah was so awesome and helped us learn so much about homesteading. And she's the homesteading realtor. That's her thing. And so, yeah, just to your point, like basing it on something you're doing anyway. And she loves to homestead is the other thing. Like she has horses and chickens and plants and all of it, right?
Yep.
And my other client who does a soccer league, he played soccer all through high school, and I think he played in college a little bit. So to your point, it is all very on brand and very authentic, which is just like rocket fuel on it.
But Nathan, what is this doesn't have anything to do with real estate.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like I talk to my clients about this, and this kind of transcends the like event thing, but like we are so goddamn sick of seeing just sold and just listed and pending. And I'm not trying to say don't do those posts, but if that's all you've got, no one's going to follow you, no one's going to interact. It's a nightmare. And I think it's the same thing. So when we talk about like, do you want to do an event? It's like a first time home buyer class. Like, no, because people aren't going to show up to that. Say, hey, we're going to go to a club and get some food and do this. And it's going to be about, we're going to crochet at a club. It's a crochet thing, but we're going to do it at a nightclub. How fun, how interesting, right?
Different, yeah.
So, and then people are in. But yeah, this idea of like, it needs to be real estate related. You could not be, yeah, when clients say it's like, you don't get it yet. Like, we haven't had a connect, we're missing a
Yeah.
connection here. We don't want it to be about real estate. That's the point.
Everyone lives somewhere, guys. That's why. So like let's just do the numbers on the one that you just gave me with the soccer team.
Yeah.
So the soccer team, if there's 60 families per year, six of those 60 families are technically moving in the next 12 months
Right.
statistically, but
Mhm.
all 60 of them know someone that they can refer you to.
Right.
And like when you're just, who do you think's going to win that referral, right? Because that's what we really play for. We play the referral game here, guys. We're not trying to, where most agents get sidetracked, I believe, on the personal brand and doing things like this is they go back to say, and they go back in their minds and they just look at, does that generate a lead? And how many people, and then they try to sell whoever they're getting in front of a direct house as opposed
Right.
to not selling them anything and turning that person into a referral source and
Right.
realizing that if you create referral sources out of people, they will also hire you directly. You don't need to
Right.
sell them, right? It's just so like if someone's gonna refer you, they're gonna use you. So
Right.
focus on the referral. Become the most referable agent in your market, and you do that through top of mind. I love these ideas on these events. Let's just unpack some of these. So the soccer event, I love it. Um,
So one thing on that, Mike, I want to bring up, and I think this is relevant to other events as well, is like so he does 2 seasons a year, a spring season
I
and a
was gonna.
fall
That was my
season.
next question. Yeah,
Yeah, and then he'll do tournaments once in a while as well. And
yeah,
so the idea is like you can expand this vertical, to get more people in and find other ways of, things like, your kid, free jerseys for anyone you bring in, a friend that you bring in, free jersey for your kid.
yep,
Whatever. There's so many things that you can do with it. But I think, yeah, so the most important part is find something authentic because once you do, that vein is very rich and you can go all the way down.
yeah,
Another thing that I really aim for with my clients is to cover my fee. I like to help them find sponsors so that they end up being $0 out of pocket to
yep.
have me help them set up the event because the sponsors coming in and helping them. And again, that's a whole thing by itself. And so that's something I work with agents on is like it needs to be someone who's genuinely helpful adjacently. But I mean, like a soccer league is a great example. The one there is just, hey, we want to have our name on the jersey too.
Yep.
Right? It's like, hey, no problem. We can do that. And so being able to get, not only do something that's authentic, but then have it sponsored so you're paying nothing out of pocket, it becomes like a duh. Like, why wouldn't you? But yeah, let me run you. I want to tell you a few other ones. I
Yeah,
think
give me
another
keep going. I like these.
Another great one that you brought up and is obviously awesome is a podcast. A lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work. Is it for everyone? No, but none of these are for everyone. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I really focus on local stuff. So it's like if you're gonna have a podcast, it better be all about the community and it's got to be a local thing. But
Yeah.
I won't get too much into that.
I
I
have
mentioned
a
the
I have a
Go ahead.
friend. He's been on this show. He has a 615 podcast in Nashville, and he
Yeah.
calls himself the 615 agent. And he shoots guns. He wears cowboy boots. He's a conservative. He loves Jesus, and he screams it from the rooftops.
Mhm.
And that's what builds his whole brand, guys. Like
Yep.
he does not have a lead gen problem, and his podcast gives him all the social media content. And everyone's like, "Why the fuck is that real estate agent on a mic? He must be important." You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
like the
Yep.
positioning so powerful behind it. But he crushes it. And it's not like his show gets millions of downloads.
hmm
He just, these are mini one-on-one events. And
hmm
who he's having the events with is a one-on-one person. Like,
hmm
and they're referral sources, guys. So, like,
Yeah.
anytime you do something nice for someone, they'll do it back to you. All right. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to interrupt, but that podcast is a great one. I didn't think of it in context of, I guess it is an event uh,
Yeah.
thing you're having.
Well,
It's a really good,
yeah, and you
off
can
of that.
shoot it live as well. And the
Yeah.
other thing I will say that is will blow your mind if you do a podcast. So when I did the Idaho Real Estate Investment Association, that's a good example of it really could have been a podcast because we would just bring guests on and we chat to them.
Yeah.
The thing that will blow your mind though is the caliber of guests that you can get on some sort of a podcast or to some sort of an event. We had people in there that we had no business having on, meaning like super wealthy investors talking about advanced strategies and they were happy to help. We had government officials. We had all sorts of people. And so just to the podcast idea and to the guesting idea. So another application would be like a homesteading thing. You'd be surprised at like how easily you can get on some very big names in things like self-sustaining and off-grid living and like there's so many people that will come on and gratis, like just do it out of the goodness of their heart to help people, progress. So I think that's one thing to be aware of. Is like if you're afraid of like, oh, well, who would I ask? Like honestly, people are going to say yes, and you're going to be surprised about it. So I think podcasts are awesome. And again, any sort of like expert thing, you can provide a lot of value. And the one caveat I'll put there is just make sure that you're transparent with your guests. Like if you're coming on, you're like, hey, if you have a membership fee, which you can do, just be like, hey, this is what we do. We can't pay you, or we're not going to pay you, or we are going to pay you, but just be transparent, right?
Yep.
But I think those are great. Another one I would say, so I want to talk about kind of like a more dangerous one that I think you've maybe done, Mike, but I think that really requires a special kind of agent, are these kind of social clubs. So I have a couple of clients. One does a monthly, it's bi-monthly, but a date night in the community. And it's invite only, really, but it's like he invites someone and they have to invite someone else. So it's a social club essentially. And I have another client who does a whiskey, and it's called Whiskey and Wine Society. And so they do like a whiskey and wine tasting.
That's
And
cool.
these are great. I like these, but you have to be a very social person for this to work. I wouldn't recommend doing this if it's like going to end up being a second or third job trying to get people to come to this. It needs to be a thing where it's like, hey, I'm already very social. It's kind of natural for me. So I would say that is categorically different in my eyes to something like a soccer league. A soccer league, the value is inherent. It's there. And I like things that there's just inherent value where it doesn't become a job to keep it going. But for someone who's very social, and a lot of good agents are very social, a social club can also be a good option.
I like it. Um, but yeah, you have to be the wine drinker, you have to be the whiskey guy, or you have to
Right.
be like, and all you're really doing is just taking your like your hobbies and just turning and inviting people to come enjoy them with you. Like it's all we're doing. I had some of the best events I've seen are always like fundraisers, like the agents who give
Yep.
back to the community. Those
Yep.
are always, you know, um, I can't tell you guys how many people that have branded and they've done some kind of give back campaign based upon some life event that happened in their business. But every single one of those agents are doing really well.
Yep.
And can you talk? Do you have any examples of something like
Sure.
that we can
Yeah.
go through?
Yeah, I do. I have a client who has a one, it's called Cash Cancer Collective, and her family has gone through cancer a couple of times. And so she does just that. It's basically like an MPO. And so she gathers people together. They do these events where they put together these baskets. And it's funny because she started out by just giving, like collecting it from local businesses and working with them, which generates good content. And then she would go donate it at a cancer treatment center. But it's kind of evolving, right? And that's the cool thing about having an event is you can see like where are the opportunities. And so one of the things you want to do with an event is have people there. Like that's a
Yeah,
big thing. You want to be connecting. And so we came up with a way that she can connect and do that. I mean, fundraisers, and I mean golf tournaments are an easy, like low-hanging fruit that a lot of people do. I mean, be a golf guy if that's what you're going to do.
yeah,
But I mean, you do pickleball tournaments, sporting things in general are fine. The other thing that I think is really low hanging fruit that I think is a very low leap for a lot of clients is play dates. So mom play dates. If you're a female agent and you have kids, that one's an easy one where you just set up. It's like the Nashville moms, play date, and they go do it at a different park every time, and they invite moms out. And the funny thing that we found about that is that it was more for the moms than the kids. The moms wanted to be able to get out of the house and connect with other moms, and it works
that's
great.
really good.
Yep, and it's a great Facebook group, which again, I know we're not talking about all the logistics as much today, but yeah, like easy Facebook group to have, easy to put on Luma and to put on these other sites, and moms love it. And then especially if it's on Facebook, if they can get back to you, which again, why you need a personal brand so that they can see what you're all about. That's just more rapport that you've built.
How often? I mean, I know there's no like set rules here, but like it
Yeah.
sounds like you're doing these more than just twice a year. Like these are like
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah. I mean,
frequent type of events. Then this isn't
right.
your traditional client party.
Yeah,
Um,
no, and it's very important to make that distinction. I am all about like client appreciation stuff. Go ahead. This is not that. This is an SOI growth vehicle, is what I call it. The idea is I want you to be around people you don't know. I want you to be around people that you've never met. And so the way we do that is, yeah, we're talking to people about, the things that you're mutually interested in. So yes, it can be weekly, it can be monthly, it can be quarterly, whatever you want to do. And it depends on, what works for you. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a mastermind event, you don't want to do that, every week. It'd be too much, right?
yeah,
But I mean, is it something that you could do? I think another thing for me personally with my clients, I like it. The more people we can get there, we're not talking about like 300. I'm not even talking about 100 people. 60 is a lot to manage. My client who does the soccer league, he has parents kind of help out. But the point being is that you don't want it to be like you and five people. You want it to be like you and 10 to 30 people is ideal, right? Because it's enough that you can work the room and MC and be in front, but it's also not like you have to have like these huge venues. A lot of
yeah.
times you can get venues for free. There's a lot of opportunities to really like just knock these 10 to 30 person events out of the park.
Once you nail down your brand, I mean, the event can't be that difficult to come out with. The branding part is the hard. Like, you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. And then once it's done once, and I mean, I'm sure you've seen this too, but once you've done it once, you've done it every time. Meaning like the hardest part's the first one. And then it's just reoccurring. You
Yeah.
just say, hey, this is how often we're going to do it. We already have the list. We already know who's coming. We've already done this thing. We got some feedback. We got reviews while we did it. It's just, and this we mentioned before we started, but it is the most, in my opinion, it's the single most affordable way to get going as an agent and to start marketing because you can do everything on organic and it gets you in front of people that you don't know faster with more rapport than anything else. I mean, paid ads are awesome. They cost money, right? Content in general, like trying to get organic content to bring leads in, it's a
Cost
lot of
time.
work, a
Yep.
tremendous amount of work. It's great. But I just think like this one, and then the other thing is it forces you, the first event, I always say, before we're going to pick this, you need to tell me 10 people that you can invite before we even go forward with the idea. I want you to know 10 people already in your network. If you can't think of 10, then we need to wait. You need to have at least 10 people you personally know ready to come so that there's a good base, right? You don't want to show up to an event and no one's there. You want to show up and have at least 10 people there for the first couple. And so that you can show that, this is
Yeah, imagine then those people bring new people, and
exactly.
then it just goes off because not everyone's going to show up every. You're
Nope.
creating a club. It's almost
Right.
like a fraternity in a sense. Like, you're creating a
Right.
little club of people that share the same interests, and
Right.
you're carrying that out. Do you think do most of your clients do maybe like every other month? Is like the like 6 times a year? Is that a good?
I have clients that do every other month. I have clients that do it quarterly. I have clients that do it monthly. I would say like I know we keep talking about the soccer one, but I think there's a lot of meat on the bone there for a lot of agents. But
Mhm.
the idea is he does that every week for the seasons, and then when he'll do a tournament, like that's like a weekend type thing. So it depends. My point being is like it varies widely. When I did the Idaho Real Estate Investment Association, it was every month. And yeah, you had months that more people turned out than others, but I mean, inexhaustible content, incredible way to like gain value. And we never want to talk about it, but the fact is that we all care about status, and this gives us status. This is a group social event,
Yeah,
and it helps you feel better about yourself, and that confidence carries over and turns into sales.
it's good. Yeah, dude, I like it a lot. Um, I got it. I don't have any other questions for you. Anything else you want to add here? Anything?
Yeah, I would say the thing I want to add is the thing that I began with, and I'd say like, look, if you're thinking about doing an event, you need to get a hold of someone like me or like Mike. You have to do your personal brand because you mentioned it, and it's just the truth. Until you've done your personal brand work, like you're gonna strike out, and you don't want to do that. Work smart, not hard.
It's no differently with content creation, you guys. Like, I could create like I have to sit down with people first and do like a content strategy meeting that's all based on their personal brand, on like how they're going to talk to it. Like, one guy's a chef,
Hmm.
right? So he's going to have cooking events.
Yep.
Another guy's giving back, so he's going to have fundraisers.
Hmm.
Another guy's just a dad, so he's going to have kids events, right? Like, it all ties in, but until you know um, whom you are, and that determines how you communicate, and then how you communicate determines what type of events that person would have,
Right. And
right?
it's overwhelming to do by yourself. You
Yeah,
really need someone to be able to sit down and like ask you the questions that help you straighten your mind out so that you can feel confident moving forward.
yeah.
Because otherwise, I just think agents get lost. They're like, well,
It's
how do I
anybody.
start
Yeah,
marketing?
it's
100%.
human being. You're just stuck in your own weeds. You can't see out of them because you're
Yep.
swimming in your own shit, is what it is.
Yep.
And it's very hard. I have to get help for my own stuff. I'm sure Nathan
Yep.
does too, because
I do.
both of us, like, we're in our weeds. We can't see out of them because we
Right.
can only see one way. So it's not like this is actually a very. Um, I'll end with this. Like, the reason why this is so important, guys, is that it's about making impact with content, make an impact on your brand, but it's just about creating impact. When you create impact, like having an impactful event like this, when you create impact, impact is when people take notice of what the hell you're doing.
Hmm.
And when you just create impact, whether that's through content, whether that's through events, whether that's through video, whether that's through awards or things you've done in the past, like, people pay attention because it's impactful. So that's why it matters to actually focus on this. Your brokerage or your team leader is not your brand. That's just somebody, you guys are providing a service for each other. They need you, you need them for the time being, but that's not your brand. Your brand is what you're doing on the weekends when no one's looking. Your brand is what you're going to do tonight It's what you're reading about when nobody's looking. It's what you're researching when no one's watching. It's what you do when you don't have to worry about work. It's what you do on the weekends. It's
Hmm.
whom you are. It's your individuality. And
Yeah.
when you take that individuality and that persona, you match it with your business. That's when attraction comes, regardless of which level you do it. Nathan, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you? And
Yeah, so my website is repersonalbranding.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, any of those. It's Nathan G. Schiess. My name will be in the show notes because it's hard to spell. But yeah, be happy to help you provide some value to the community.
love it, dude. Good stuff. Keep up the good work and keep shining the way. This is a really cool topic. I like what you're doing, and I agree with all of it. Folks, we appreciate you listening to another episode of the Your Marketing Dude podcast. If you are stuck with like what you do, like content wise, you need to create some impact with that. Well, we're your dude. We will script edit, distribute your videos. We also post for you on social, email your database, and direct mail your database. We farm your relationships so they stop forgetting you exist and start referring you business instead. And guess what? If you're going to get their referrals, you're also going to get their direct. It's not rocket science, folks. You just have to be everywhere all the time. See you guys next week. Peace.